Are you torn between moving to Hamilton and Burlington? Well, you're not alone. If you're a first-time buyer in Southern Ontario, then these two cities probably keep coming up on your radar, and for good reason. They're both great cities, but for slightly different reasons. Depending on your lifestyle, your family, your budget, your long-term plans, one might suit you better than the other. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the pros and cons of each city so you can figure out which one is right for you and which one is not. I work with a lot of first-time buyers who move to both of these cities, so if you have any questions at all about either one and you're trying to figure out which one's better for you, you can always reach out to me and ask me any questions. Let's start with what most home buyers start with, the budget. For a Hamilton detached home, you can expect to pay around $825,000. For a townhome, you can expect to pay around $624,000, and for a condo, you can expect around $431,000. Now, Burlington is going to be quite a bit more expensive, with your detached homes setting you back about $1.3 million. It's quite the jump. Your townhomes are going to be around $786,000, and your condos are going to be around $591,000. So obviously your dollar is going to go a lot further if you buy something in Hamilton compared to Burlington. For most first-time home buyers, Burlington is going to be a little bit out of reach. Let's just say you have about a $650,000 pre-approval, and that's what you can buy. Let's look at what that would actually get you in both Hamilton and Burlington. In Hamilton, that would get you a fairly respectable townhome or perhaps even a smaller detached in a rising neighborhood, which is a fairly realistic entry point with a lot of future upside. In Burlington, $650K puts you in condo territory, maybe one or two bedrooms, maybe a parking spot, but you're definitely not getting a backyard. You're not getting tons of extra space. When we break it down based on pure numbers, Hamilton is the clear winner. It's going to be a lot more affordable and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. If you're a first-time buyer and affordability is one of your main concerns, then Hamilton is going to be the better option. I always recommend this to first-time buyers. You don't want to stretch every single dollar that you have into the house. You want to have a cash buffer left over after you've closed and you've done all your expenses with the house. You still want to have a little bit of money left over in your bank account at the end of it for any other expenses that will come up. And sometimes that means buying the cheaper house in the cheaper area so that you can maintain that cash buffer and build some equity, which is going to be a lot better for your long-term financial stability. All right, now numbers only tell a part of the story. While you can stretch your budget 6 different ways, if you don't actually like where you're living, then it's still not worth it. Hamilton and Burlington are each going to provide you with different and unique lifestyles, with Hamilton being a little bit of a work in progress. There's a lot of development going on in Hamilton, a lot of older homes being renovated and renewed, a lot of older storefronts also being restored, and there's a creative crowd coming in, bringing in new ideas and new energy. And it's also important to mention that not all Hamilton neighborhoods are created equal. It's got quite a mix of different areas and different vibes. You got places like Dundas and Ancaster, which will be a little bit more on the high end, a little bit further away from the downtown core, but they also have the price tag to match. Then you have downtown Hamilton, which is a little bit more rough around the edges, but that being said, there's still a lot of great neighborhoods if you know where to look. In Hamilton, you can still find value and potential without giving up your quality of life. If you've been researching Hamilton at all and thinking about moving here, you probably came across the fact that we have a ton of waterfalls. It seems like it's all we want to talk about. We got the Bruce Trail, tons of conservation areas, and overall just plenty of nature for you to enjoy. When it comes to nightlife and culture, we have Art Crawl on James Street, which is something that happens on the second Friday of every month. It's just a celebration of music, food, culture, that sort of thing. There'll be some food trucks. It's a pretty cool thing to go to. Hamilton also has plenty of indie bars, coffee shops, microbreweries. There's also some farmers markets, vintage shops, so there's plenty to do here. Another thing to mention is the commute to Toronto. If that is a factor in your decision to move here, it'll take usually about 60 to 75 minutes by GO train to get to Union Station. And then driving, it takes about 45 to 70 minutes, depending on where you're going, what time of day you're going at. During rush hour, it's probably going to be closer to 2 hours, I'll be honest. All right, now let's compare it to Burlington. Burlington is a lot more clean, calm, and predictable. Burlington is like the guy who irons his shirt the night before work and who drives just slightly below the speed limit. It's got smooth roads, clean parks, and neighbors that will leave you a passive-aggressive note if your grass gets too long. No, but all jokes aside, Burlington is going to be calm, predictable. It's built for stable routines and family schedules. As far as nature goes, Burlington also has a beautiful park and waterfront trail, and it also has the Royal Botanical Gardens and tons of family-friendly parks to enjoy. Now, when it comes to the nightlife and culture, Burlington is not going to have as much as Hamilton will, which if you're not really into that, that could be a good thing for you. But Burlington does have a lot of top-rated schools. It has a lot of family rec centers as well. So if partying and going bar hopping are not really your thing, then Burlington might be more your speed. Now, the commute from Burlington to Toronto is going to be a little shorter just because it's closer. It's going to be about 35 to 50 minutes by GO train, and then driving is going to be about 35 to 55 minutes, again, depending on the time of day, if it's rush hour, and so on. So when it comes to lifestyle, which city wins? Hamilton is for you if you want a city that has a little bit more character, a little bit more space, a little bit more room to grow and build equity. It might have some rough edges, but again, if you know what areas to avoid and what to look for, you can avoid most of it. Now, Burlington is going to be more for you if you want safe, clean, family-friendly, with fewer surprises and more predictability. But again, you're going to have to be willing to pay for it because Burlington is more expensive. So for lifestyle, it's a bit of a toss-up. It really just comes down to what makes more sense to you and what fits you better at this stage that you're at in your life. Now, when it comes to family friendliness, there's going to be a few key differences between Hamilton and Burlington. Burlington is basically built for families. It's got some of the best schools in the region, and the crime rates are very low. It's got a lot more of that suburban calm to it. So if safety, stability, quality schools are some of your biggest concerns, then Burlington is going to be the place for you. Now, Hamilton's going to be a little bit different. Don't get me wrong. It still has some great schools, especially in some areas like Westdale, Dundas, and parts of the mountain. But it varies quite a bit more from neighborhood to neighborhood. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of neighborhoods that once were maybe not so desirable are seeing some improvements in terms of walkability, crime rates, and just general development. Burlington might be more suited for families, but Hamilton is more suited for first-time buyers or young couples who are trying to get into the housing market without needing a $200,000 down payment. And that being said, Hamilton isn't bad for families either. You just got to be a little bit more careful about which neighborhood you end up choosing. Like, I personally grew up in Hamilton, so I know that it's a great place to raise a family. You just have to be careful which neighborhoods you pick and which ones you avoid. And Hamilton does offer a better opportunity right now to build equity just because there's a lot more opportunity to find houses on the market. There's a lot more variety, and there's a lot more listings currently sitting right now that aren't selling. All of that combined with the lower price point makes it perfect for first-time buyers. All right, let's do a final breakdown of Hamilton versus Burlington in 2025. So on the first metric, affordability, Hamilton is going to be your winner. When we're looking at the commute to Toronto, Burlington is obviously the winner because it's closer. If you're looking at schools, then Burlington is also going to be the winner because it has some of the best ranked schools in the region. Your general lifestyle is going to be Hamilton just because of its walkable cores, its culture, its nature access. For long-term growth, it's going to be Hamilton just because of the lower barrier to entry, but also the continued development that is going to raise values. And if you're looking for suburban comfort, then Burlington is going to be the winner. So if you're still stuck and you're not quite sure which one to choose, think of it this way. Hamilton is where you go to start building, and Burlington is where you go when you're ready to settle in. Neither one is going to be a wrong choice. Like I said, they're both great cities. It's just going to depend on where you're at in your life and how much of a budget you have to play with. If you're still torn between moving to Hamilton and Burlington and can't decide, reach out to me and book a free buyer consultation. I'll sit down with you and we'll go over the pros and cons of each, and we'll figure out which one makes the most sense for you and your situation. And I also recommend that you download my free first-time buyer guide. It contains everything that I wish all first-time home buyers knew before they jumped in. If you're at all concerned or confused about the process of buying a home, that's going to be a great resource. It's going to walk you through the entire thing, start to finish. If you want the details on that, just check the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe this video if you found some value here. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.